Hello Internet, and thanks for joining me on day 5 of my Howling Movie Day little mini-series. I knew going into this that there would be deep psychological ramifications to watching all of the Howling movies in such a concentrated time period, one a day. What I didn't realise is that by the time I got to Howling V, the Rebirth, I would feel like I'd entered some kind of bizarro twilight zone where I'd been crunching on nothing but crazy pills. Because what I always do just before recording a review for you guys is I have a look at the IMDb message boards just to get a little temperature check of what people are saying on movies. I have a look here on YouTube to see what reviews have gone in the past, and people really like this movie. There are people out there that will say that it's their favourite Howling movie. I mean, they're obviously crazy. There are people out there that say that this is their favourite of the Howling sequels, and the first one aside, this is the best one of the lot. And something's happened. I've slipped through a crack in the space-time continuum. I've entered an alternate dimension. That's the only explanation for it. What I can say is that in comparison to all of those people, apparently now I've become a champion for truth and justice. And I can honestly say to you that this channel here, now, with me, Grumpy Andrew, is the only place where you will get the unfiltered truth about the crap stain that Howling V is. Type of werewolf. Now, if you've seen yesterday's video, Howling 4, where I decry the fact that there's an awesome werewolf design that's barely used, if I tell you that it's the same werewolf model, same head, same complete design in this, you'll probably think that that pleases me. But it doesn't. Because the werewolves on screen, oh, let's be generous and say for 10 seconds. And that's not just one 10-second shot. That's spread over the entire movie. I honestly couldn't tell you what type of werewolf this was, because this bold experiment in cinema is a werewolf movie that chooses, I'm sure for purely artistic reasons, to never show you a werewolf. The first sighting, if you can call it such, it's more like a subliminal insert. Tell you what, rather than talk about the first sighting, I'm just going to give you a few slides now, which, apart from the shots of werewolf hands coming in, pretty much covers the entirety of the werewolf's presence in the movie. Every single werewolf shot coming up. And I'm going to make each slide last for a few seconds so that you can rest safe in the knowledge that the duration of these screen grabs will, because I care about you, last longer than the entire werewolf's presence in the movie Howling V, the Rebirth. No one gets killed in this. That's not exactly true. About 11 or 12 people, I wasn't counting, get killed in this. The vast majority of them get killed by being yanked off screen by a hairy werewolf arm. Towards the end, there's a little bit of what the Gemini killer from Exorcist 3 would refer to as slapstick. There is a simultaneous decapitation and being hit in the chest by a crossbow bolt. You won't be surprised to learn that there is no transformation. An awful lot of people have said there's some similarity to Agatha Christie's 10 Little Indians, just because there are 10 of them and they get knocked off one by one. It bears no relation to that, because 10 Little Indians is a nice, tightly scripted little whodunit that you can play along with and actually try and guess who might be the murderer. Other people have said it plays a little bit like The Beast Must Die, and that's a little bit sloppy as well, because The Beast Must Die is a little bit like 10 Little Indians, except one of them's a werewolf and you kind of have to guess who the werewolf is. It's not like that either, because there's some amount of basic guesswork going on in The Beast Must Die as well. This, with its plot that thinks it's clever by having people talking about people's appearances versus what's going on underneath. Because it's a werewolf movie, right? So the wolf in sheep's clothing, the don't judge a book by its cover, there's a beast in all of us. It thinks it's clever. There are no twists. It's just about 90 minutes of different groups of people splitting off, wandering down corridors and through secret passages, and every once in a while one of them gets picked off. So it's not like 10 Little Indians. It's not like The Beast Must Die. I'll tell you exactly what it's like. It's like an extended live action episode of Scooby-Doo, except this time the big weird dog is killing people one at a time, rather than trying to make a sandwich. The Howling franchise has got a connection to one of my favourite episodes of Mystery Science Theatre 3000. This movie, Howling V, was directed by Neil Sundstrom, who directed the amazingly shit-tastic Space Mutiny. If you're a fan of Mystery Science Theatre 3000, you owe it to yourself to see Space Mutiny, one of the greatest episodes of one of the greatest TV shows ever. They make it glorious by tearing it to kindling. And fact found, it's not the only connection the Howling series has got to Space Mutiny. Reb Brown, the hero of Space Mutiny, is the hero in Howling 2. A movie that is bad, but at least it's not boring. People seem to be impressed by the atmosphere and the suspense in this one, and an awful lot of people seem to be willing to forgive it, the fact that it's a werewolf movie without a freaking werewolf in it, because, oh no, the suspense is good, the mystery's good. The mystery's not good, the suspense is not good. Right, I'm going to be completely straight with you. If you've got 90 minutes to spare, you'll have a fun time with this movie, because it trots along at a fair old pace. There's enough characters in it that it will befuddle you into thinking that lots of stuff's going on. Lots of stuff isn't going on. One thing is going on, but it keeps jumping between lots of different characters. So it makes you think it's clipping along at a fair old pace, and you think to yourself, I'll just stick with this till the end to find out who the werewolf is. And that'll be fine. The rewatch value of this is absolutely zero. As in absolute zero. As in the dead deep cold of space. If you've not seen the movie and you are interested in watching it, then don't watch the last few minutes of this, because I'm going to tear into the plot. Stop watching now. Still here. Right. The plot. In a castle, 500 years ago, an entire family, by their own hand, is murdered / suicided. The last two remaining kill themselves to wipe clean a tainted bloodline. And as the last person dies, he hears a baby crying. The baby that he was told had been slain survives. We've died in vain. Bum, bum, bum. 500 years later, 10 people receive an invitation. You've won a prize to the opening of this medieval castle that no foot has been set in it for 500 years. and they gather, a little like Clue. If you've seen Clue, that's brilliant. Watch that instead of this. Its lack of a werewolf makes sense. The Howling V's lack of a werewolf doesn't make sense. These people are all descendants of that one child survivor, that one baby. Only they can kill the werewolf. Right, let's just break down. If they're all descendants of this bloodline, then all of them has one parent who is also a descendant, and maybe grandparents if they're still alive, and aunts and uncles, and cousins, and nephews and nieces, who would all be descendants. But never mind about that, only 10 of you got invited. One of those 10 is the werewolf, because the castle was its hunting ground, was its home, and it wouldn't be able to resist the invitation and the reopening of the castle. It would have to come back. If you think about this for just 1 second, you will realise that this means that a 500-year-old werewolf, not only in all that time, hasn't managed to make a home for itself where it feels comfortable elsewhere, another hunting ground, but that 500-year-old werewolf has gone to extraordinary length to ensure that the identity, the false identity that it has crafted for itself, is one of a direct blood descendant of itself. One final thought. To save money, and we've seen this in other Howling movies, the camera will often play the point of view of the werewolf in this movie. Now, that's fine. It's done briefly in American Werewolf in London, the greatest werewolf movie ever made, so I can't slag off that particular effect. Plus it's cheap, it's fine, I get it. But you have characters reacting to the camera that's come into their room. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Hey, what do you think about what's going on this evening? I know, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Don't you think that... And a big werewolf hand comes in and strangles them to death. This means 2 things for you to think about. 1, the person who's the werewolf can transform into a werewolf instantly, because the person recognises them as human and has a conversation with them. Maybe you don't have an issue with an instant transformation into a werewolf, but what you should take issue with is the fact that before that instant transformation takes place, the person talking to them, the camera, the human, before they turn into the werewolf, is having a conversation with someone without making reference to it whatsoever, who is completely and utterly naked. So hopefully you'll stick with me, because tomorrow it's the last day. Howling... Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. How are you doing? What do you think of the howling? I'm an idiot.